What's up, everybody? It's your boy Passion, and now I want to talk about my most anticipated games of 2024. I've got at least 7 games that I'm actually interested in this year, and we're going to go over every single one of them. Starting with Persona 3 Reload, which is a remake of Persona 3. Was released way back on the PlayStation 2, and this game comes out next week, so I won't have to wait long for this one, but it was, for quite a while, the most anticipated game for me of 2024. I'm super excited about it, aside from the fact that it just looks fucking gorgeous. I mean, they've given it the full HD makeover treatment, bringing it closer in quality to Persona 5, which is one of the best RPGs I've ever played. And Persona 3 is a great game that I never really got to finish when I played it back on PS2. And it always stuck with me, and now I'll finally get the freaking chance to play through the entire thing in the best way possible. So it worked out in the end. Sometimes good things do come to those who miss out the first time around. So yeah, this game looks really sick. It's from Atlus, so of course its quality is all but assured. I mean, those guys, when it comes to Persona, this is just a quality series, and everything they put out is usually a banger. And because this is a remake of a game that was already pretty damn good, I mean, there's just no way you can fail as far as I'm concerned. It's gonna be one of the must-have games of the year for any RPG fan, I would say. So I'm pretty damn excited for this one. Yeah, it's one of the safest bets of the year for me. And it's not the only Atlus game I'm looking forward to this year, but it is the first one I wanted to mention since it comes out very soon. So, exciting times. Let's move on to the other game that I'm really freaking looking forward to, and that is typing on the computer. Typing away. Penny's Big Breakaway. This is a platformer game that's coming out from the creators of Sonic Mania, which was easily the best Sonic game ever made. And that same team that worked on that game, Christian Whitehead and his team, have formed their own studio outside of Sega called Evening Star. And this is the first game that's going to be made under that studio. Now, this does have a 2024 release date, but there's no exact date. So I don't know when in 2024 this is coming out, but everything about it looks very promising. It looks just incredibly inventive and colorful and clever. It's got really cool gameplay mechanics that I have full faith in because, again, this is being made by the same guys that made Sonic Mania. Like, they are really good at what they do. I have no reason to doubt this game will be a genius platformer. And as we'll see in the video here, it even looks like some kind of long-lost Sega title, or maybe something that would have been on like the Saturn or something. It's interesting because it is a fully 3D game, and of course Sonic Mania was a retro 2D game. And I assumed whatever this studio worked on, it would be something of that nature. But it's a fully 3D game, and it does look really good. Like, this art style is really dope. I like the unique color palette it's got going for it. And it just looks really neat. It's rare that we get, like, a new original platformer with a totally new IP that's never never been done before. Like this looks great. And it's coming to Switch sometime this year, so I'm very hyped for this game. I was a huge fan of Sonic Mania, and seeing this team get to work on their own original titles is exciting. So yeah, I'm hyped for this game. I mean, look at it. It looks like a joy, you know? It looks like a joy. All right, so there's that. That's number 2. Then next up we've got the Tomb Raider Remaster, which is a compilation of Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. Now what's interesting about this package, they're bringing back the classic original 3 Tomb Raider games from the PlayStation 1 to modern consoles, including PlayStation 5, and it has a feature that lets you switch back and forth between old graphics from the PS1 era, just as they were back then, and this slightly better, glossier look. And I'm gonna be honest, that glossier look, I mean, it's fine, I guess, but I'm actually really happy that they let you stick to the blocky, polygonal graphics of the original games, because there is a certain charm to that for those of us that remember those games back in the day. And I'm pretty psyched about that. Being able to stream such an ancient PlayStation title on the latest hardware in all of its ancient, blocky glory, you know, is pretty neat. I mean, I guess there's an argument to be made, why didn't they use the latest graphics, like Unreal Engine 5 or something, to make these games look better than ever? And I don't know, that might have taken away from like the original design aesthetics and spirit of this game, and I don't think it would have these games, I should say, wouldn't have worked as well, you know. I think there's something to be said for preserving games as they were. They don't always need to be overhauled from the ground up. And I'm sure a lot of people will probably complain about the controls if they don't offer a modern control option for these games, because much like the classic Resident Evil 10 controls, the controls in the classic Tomb Raider games were very polarizing, and for everybody like me who handled them really well and thought they were great, there's going to be people who absolutely hated them and will probably have a harder time than ever trying to play these games now. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But as an old fan of Tomb Raider, I'm very excited for it, especially since I've never liked any of the modern day Tomb Raider games that have come out since then. You know, after the PlayStation 1, I did not like any of their Tomb Raider games that came out after that. You know, I never cared, especially for the last trilogy that came out. I thought those games were garbage. I thought they completely abandoned everything that made Tomb Raider so unique. Exploring tombs and platforming, puzzle solving, like that was a big part of these games, and they turned them into like Uncharted ripoffs, and I just never liked them at all. So yeah, I'm excited to go back to the real Tomb Raider, the real Lara Croft. Good times, good times. All right, now what else we got here? That's number 3. Number 4 is a big one, a big Sony exclusive. Rise of the Ronin. Now this is being made by Tecmo, the guys behind Dead or Alive, and more recently the Neo games. Koei Tecmo as they're known today, but yeah, this has my attention largely because Koei Tecmo has never done a game like this before. This is an open world samurai game. And yeah, we just got one of those not too long ago with Ghost of Tsushima, but this is this is an open world samurai game made by, a Japanese team, which has my attention quite a bit more because we haven't seen one of those in a long time. And it looks pretty neat. I mean, when it comes to open world games these days, I feel like, there's the open world games we've had for years and years and have gotten really boring. And then there's like, Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring, where like that genre was revitalized and taken in a more interesting direction. Obviously, the main focus of this game is probably going to be combat because that's what Koei Tecmo does best. And the combat in this game does look like a fuck ton of fun. But I am curious to see how the open world format is going to be handled in this game. And, because I'm sure it'll have a big, epic plot. I'm sure it'll have engaging combat. But yeah, how well it like succeeds, I think is going to depend on how well they handle this big scope, this big open-ended scope. Like, I wonder how that's going to pan out. So I'm not like 100% sure that this is going to be like a great game, but I have my hopes. I'm very interested. Very interested to see, because this is definitely like something different for Koei Tecmo. Like, this is a much bigger, broader scoped game than anything they've done before. They're aiming for something big here. This game's been in development for a long time, and it's obviously something they're really betting on. So I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. I think it has the potential to be a lot better than Ghost of Tsushima, because as beautiful as that game was, and as much as it did fulfill the fantasy of being an open world samurai game a little bit, that game had a lot of issues. Namely, that it had a really generic, boring open world structure that was ripped off from pretty much every other Ubisoft style, Assassin's Creed style open world game. And, I'm just sick of that. So hopefully this game doesn't have you climbing endless towers and raiding enemy camps over and over again. Hopefully they do more interesting things with this open world. That's what I'm hoping for. So that's Rise of the Ronin. It is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, so I think the first big one of the year, actually. So that'll be interesting. And then moving on to another big title. Oh, and that comes out in March, by the way. The Tomb Raider thing, I forgot to mention that too. That comes out in February, along with Persona 3. And Rise of the Ronin comes out in March. So yeah. Another game that's coming out in March. Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a new fantasy game from Capcom. It's a sequel to Dragon's Dogma, obviously, which came out back in 2010, I think, or 2011. No, I think it was 2012. Well, whatever. Came out quite a while ago, like over a decade ago. And it was a very ambitious, very interesting open world fantasy game with some really cool combat against huge monsters. It had an interesting party system behind it. It had a lot of ambition, but it also had a ton of flaws, and it was not an easy game to get into. It was not an accessible open world fantasy game. But man, if you stuck with it, apparently it really delivered. And unfortunately, I was one of those people who couldn't quite stick with it long enough to see its better parts. However, this is the sequel, and after so many years and so much planning and so much potential improvements over the original game, this game could be amazing. I don't know. Dragon's Dogma 2 could end up being one of the best games of the year. It has that potential. It is from Capcom, and these days Capcom does not miss. Everything they put out turns to gold. It's usually, a banger of some kind. So, lots of promise here. It's also being directed, like the original game, by Hideaki Itsuno, who directed the Devil May Cry series, including the original Dragon's Dogma, several fighting games. He's worked at Capcom for a long time. He is a big deal at Capcom. And this game, along with the original Dragon's Dogma, has always been like a passion project for him and his team. And I mean, just look at this game. The combat alone looks pretty sick. Lots of huge, interesting monsters to fight and stuff. Like I said, tons of potential here. It does look a little similar to the original game in many respects, but paying close enough attention, you can definitely see some big improvements going on. So this also comes out in March, and it is a next-gen only game. It's only on the new Xbox and PlayStation 5, so it will be taking advantage of the new hardware of these consoles. You know, a true next-gen experience. So that's two big open world games that are going to be coming out in the same month with a ton of potential behind them. You know, I'm excited for both, and we will see. I mean, given that I didn't enjoy the original Dragon's Dogma that much, you might say I'm a little bit hesitant, but again, the original game had a ton of potential, and I think, you know, with such a great director behind it, I think he's probably done a lot to refine it by now, probably done a lot to address the flaws of the original game, so I'm pretty confident this will be something good. Now, whether or not it'll be, you know, up to the level of like Elden Ring, that's another debate, because this is a post-Elden Ring world now, and when it comes to big medieval fantasy games, it's got to compete with that, which might not sound fair to compare to, but I mean, it's not the exact same game. It does have different mechanics, and it's approaching open world in a different way, but still, it'll be interesting to see. Again, this is Capcom, so, you know, I definitely will be keeping my bets high with this one. Now, that's Dragon's Dogma 2, comes out in March. Another big game I'm looking forward to, and we'll be moving over to the Switch. There's one Switch game I'm actually looking forward to this year, believe it or not. As much as my Switch has been collecting dust these days. Hold on. The Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door remaster is coming to Switch sometime this year. And that's pretty damn exciting because that's one of the best Mario RPGs. Hell, it might be the best RPG period that Nintendo has ever been involved with. I think a team called Inti Creates was behind it. I don't think it was purely an in-house Nintendo project, but I could be wrong. I could be remembering wrong. But regardless, this game is awesome. Played it back on the GameCube when it first came out, and it is an astonishingly well-written, clever, hilarious, incredibly unique and creative game. And it's one of the most unique RPGs I've ever played. Like, if you think you know Mario, you gotta play Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, because it almost parodies a lot of things that are classic Nintendo and classic Mario. The writing is really clever and funny. The characters are really great. They're really memorable. It actually has a fun and pretty epic storyline behind it. The combat, even though it is turn-based, is extremely fun and entertaining, even if you don't normally like turn-based combat. I'd still recommend checking this game out. In fact, I'd recommend this game for people who don't normally like turn-based style RPGs, because it's pretty goddamn welcoming and easy to get into, even if those types of games aren't your cup of tea. You know, if you just have any fondness for like Mario themed shit or Nintendo in general, you should play this game when it comes out. If you have a Switch and you've never played it on GameCube, you should play this freaking game, because I'm very excited about it. It might actually finally give me a reason again to dust off my Switch and finally use it again. Yeah, exciting times. And it's a nice looking remaster. They actually look like they are giving the graphics a nice little boost. Not that it really tremendously needed it, given the colorful, cartoony aesthetic, but they did make it look a little better, which is pretty cool. They went that extra mile. But yeah, this game is great. Um, so that's 2024. Doesn't have an exact date yet, but it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. All right. So what else we got here? The last game I want to bring up, and the one I'm probably most hyped about of all, is another game from Atlus. And actually, the Persona team that made Persona 3, 4, and 5, as well as the original director behind those games, and Catherine. It's Metaphor ReFantazio, which is coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox. It's a huge epic RPG that is not Persona, but it is made by the same Persona team. It has a lot of the same artistic flair, but it's set in a made-up fantasy world. It is not set in the real world like the Persona games are. And that's pretty exciting. It's got Katsuhiro Ashino as the director. Again, he worked on most of the Persona series, and Catherine, which is another excellent game they've made. I have a lot of confidence in this because this team with Catherine has already proven they can do stuff outside of Persona. You know, that they, with a lot of the same charm and a lot of the same flair. And this just looks so gorgeous, and the art style, the just the world and characters, like it looks like unlike any fantasy world I've seen in any RPG ever. It's very gorgeous to look at, like goddamn. And of course, the plot looks suitably epic and fascinating, and it this is my most anticipated game of the year overall. This is the one I'm most hyped about, and it comes out in the fall of 2024. So it's also the one that's furthest away, which is good considering all the other shit I've mentioned that I've got to play this year. But man, it looks so good. It looks so freaking good. To me, that director and that team can do no wrong. No wrong whatsoever. It only mentions Xbox here, but that's just because it was shown at an Xbox showcase. So that's, but it is coming to PlayStation 5 as well. So yeah, lots of exciting shit to look forward to. Those are the only games I could really find that had my interest this year. But it's 7 really interesting titles, some of which are old games that have been remastered, but just as many are entirely new IPs that I'm really excited about, or at least really promising sequels. Either way, 2024 is shaping up to be a hell of a year, guys. And hopefully I'll be able to stream every one of these games as they come out. So look forward to that on my Twitch channel. Till next time, live for the passion.